All right, let's see what the next element for GW is. There's no way it's not fire. Dark! What's up, guys? Welcome to a new series. I do not know what to call yet, but basically, I'd like to talk about my Guild War experiences, setups I've used, and just overall how it went. There's no real direction. I just want to yap about Guild War for a little bit and share some of my thoughts. Okay, so first up, let's look at the rewards. Another 3 sunlight shards. I've never ever gotten a sunstone ever since I've started playing GBF for the past, like, I don't know how many years. I'm starting to think they don't exist. And this is the total amount of honors I ended up getting, which is pretty good considering I had a rough start. Backtracking a little bit, right before GW, I got pretty sick. I hurt my wrist, I hurt my back. So I barely farmed during prelims, just enough to cover my crew minimums, which was like 250 million. Oh god, that's actually kind of a lot. And then I did nothing during interlude, and then day 1 honestly is a blank from there. Day 2 I did not really do anything, so most of my honors came from day 3 and 4, and luckily I got way more than top 90k because it was looking a little scary. The predictions were kind of wild, but I think 250 kind of gated a lot of people. Even me. That boss was terrible. We'll get into that. Okay, we were 3-1, which is pretty good. I think last GW we were 4-0, so not that bad. Honestly, the main reason why I grind is just so I do not fall into third page. Yeah, I mainly just compete with my other crewmates. I actually did not see what page I ended up on. Alright, I gotta blur all of this. Oh! Wait! I'm on page 1! How? Oh my goodness! Guys, I was trailing for the first like 2 to 3 days, so I did not think I was gonna get page 1 or like even bother trying to get there. I actually managed to do it. Oh wow. This literally means nothing. But I just try not to fall off every GW. You know, I try to stay around the same because I usually make page 1. That's just like my own personal goal. Like it really doesn't mean anything. You know what? Pat myself on the back. I did pretty good despite how many debuffs I had on me. Which, by the way, my back still hurts. So now I'll start looking at the setups I've used, and then I'll talk about the boss as we go through the setups because the first few fights honestly didn't really matter. It's mainly 250. And I guess 200, but I barely did that. So for EX Plus, this is what I ran. I made a video about it, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail. MVP is Viking Axe. Spoilers, this is what I'm using for Light GW, now that we know the next element for it. And then 90, so my goal of 90 was to try to get as much drop rate as possible and killing the boss with as little buttons press. So I think the setup was 2 buttons. It was MC Splitting Spirit, okay, and I think Gabriel S2. Yeah, pretty sure. And it was CAG X Leviathan, I believe. Yeah, because I was also using Mimic Manachera. Alright, that sounds about right. Because I also have the Dragon Bar. Because this setup has more drop rate than just running double CAG. It's funny because I was prepping to go hard on day 1 to try to grind out the rest of my Celestials. But like I said, I had too many stackable debuffs on me. So I ended up not going hard on day 1 at all. And not really touching the setup as much. And before I forget, let's talk about how much meat I farmed and how much I ended up using. So for regular bait chunk, I actually ended up farming about 15,000 meat. And that was it. I never went back into EX Plus. And I barely used 12,000. And then that ended up netting me about 2k of the malicious clumps. And I didn't even burn all that either. So honestly, meat efficiency, like if you're just aiming for top 90k, is pretty good. Going forward, I might just stick around 15 to 20k depending how much I want to go for. Now we're on to Nightmare 100. I was crit gaming. This key was actually I believe, Falsehood key. I pretty much used that until Nightmare 250 when I changed it to Glory. And I believe I was running Agostia. Yeah, Agostia Amino. It's pretty strong. So I'm glad I farmed that right before GW. And pretty much pressed every single button on Pyla. And I think every button on... I lied, I didn't press the first button on Gabriel. And Hacelia pretty much pressed everything, and then she's just backline. This was full auto. Yatima, Gabriel, yeah, this is why I didn't press Gabriel's S1, just because I was using the summon, which gave the same effect. I don't have the water bonus damage summon, so I think that would have been better. But yeah, this is 2 turns and about a minute clear. If you refresh, then you get faster than that. Alright, moving on to 150. Pretty similar, still crit gaming, Street King, so I can bring Hacelia from the back, and then Shalom was there for her skill 3, so the boss can't act, because we ended up pushing like past 50%, and then Pyla skill 1 would just kind of finish off the rest of the boss. Same summons, just slightly different. Dagger is not fully uncapped at all. Alright, now 200, honestly, this didn't really matter. I just threw whatever in the grid, did a couple runs, and then 250 was already unlocked. So, did not pay too much attention to this one. And then 250, oh my god. So I already made a video of a run for 250 using this exact same setup. So you guys can check that out. This setup started off as a meme. I didn't expect to use Lucha. I just wanted to try it out because the initial setup I was using, I believe I was Relic Buster. However, that setup was pretty slow. It was very safe, but it was pretty slow. I built a majority of this setup on stream, and then when I was off stream, I tweaked it a tiny bit. I think I was running like 2 harps, but I switched one of the harps into a Levy Dagger for more overall damage. Instead of main summoning Leviathan, I switched it to Lucy because I didn't think I needed the healing cap, so I can get more defense from Leviathan. And that ended up helping a little bit, I guess. And a friend summon was Leviathan instead. Quick summoning Lucy for the heals. These were the skills for MC. I started to realize that some of the runs would end early because MC would die like way too fast. And it was because of her first effect, where I would just tank one of the triggers and it would just erase me so fast. So I ended up turning this off, and I just made the runs so much more consistent. So the fastest run I got was about 16 minutes, and then on average it would finish maybe closer to 20 minutes. It was actually the first time I've used Sumai Meat. I did not know anything about this when I was testing it on stream, but I'm now a believer. Like, this skill is so good, and for this particular raid, it was pretty easy to just meet the requirements. And then Lucha de Paragus, really strong on Vajra. You know, everyone knows what Vajra does, and she's pretty much the only fist. I tried using other fist characters, or like I tried using Chat Noir, right? But the issue with Chat Noir is that he doesn't die. This particular setup would use Fiower just to kind of keep debuffing and get the early dispels going, and then eventually you want him to die so Hacelia can come in, and then that's when the damage ramps up. But sometimes he lives too long, sometimes he dies too early. Hacelia will come in, kind of stabilize, and then worst case scenario, Maria comes in and she's just your like second chance button. I had a feeling Maria was gonna shine this GW. I don't know why. Maybe I was just coping because I unlocked her fourth skill. I actually think she's really good. She just needed the right boss, and this boss was perfect for her because she just kept dispelling everything, constant Ogi, and it was cool. She was definitely MVP. Hacelia was tricky to use just because you didn't time your dispels properly, then she would just die. Maria can come in at any time and she will probably last the entire fight because every time she would dispel or someone dispels, she would heal herself. So definitely more consistent usage out of her than Acelia. Yatima, honestly, MVP as well. Just dispels, damage reduction, pretty much everything you could ask for. I kind of wish that I Mark II'd the Scrodingers. Definitely would make the run a lot more safe, and maybe I can fix the grid a bit and throw in a bit more offense just because of the fire damage reduction and the healing cap. So maybe I wouldn't even need to run this. I also kind of wish that I had my Whamdis axe finished, because if I did, I would have probably gone primal instead. Just throw in 2 Whamdis axe and then a random primal weapon. I don't know, I got some random stuff lying around, but you have a lot of HP in this grid, and the Whamdis axe just gives even more HP, more defense, more attack, and just overall like consistent damage and sustain and damage cap. So like I think it would just be a lot better than this. In general, primal setups were way better than Magna. Definitely this particular GW, like 250, the gap between Magna and primal was a lot more apparent. The character gate was a lot more apparent. Like I was clowning on Tefnut. I thought she fell off. I don't have her, by the way. I just thought no one's gonna really use her, or she really hasn't seen much use yet. But then 250 comes around and Tefnut is in pretty much everyone's setup. If you had her, you were gonna use her. But if I were to pick between Tefnut or Horus, I think I'd rather have Horus. While we're at it, we'll just go through some of the characters I ended up using or trying out. I tried Uno. I used Uno for 250. Honestly, I was hoping to use him so that he would die, but he wouldn't. So yeah, it worked. I was able to clear, but it was very slow. Again, we used Quatre. I wish I unlocked his domain skills. I don't know what they call them, but like the additional skills you get, it just gives him more skill damage, skill sup. So like I think my runs would have been way faster if I did unlock those. Chat Noir, he was actually pretty good, but in this particular setup for 250, I wanted the 3rd character to die, and he just would not die. So yeah, he just didn't work out as well as I wanted. I actually didn't use Anne as well. I thought she'd be pretty good, but also I just thought she'd be too slow, so I didn't really want to use her even if it worked. Vajra is obviously good. Maria, both evokers were good. I tried Europa, didn't work out in my setup. Rosetta I used a lot. Day 3, this is with the Relic Buster. I could have used her in this setup honestly, but again, I wanted to make my runs faster. She definitely made it safe. I'm glad I have her because it allowed me to like mess around, test some setups, knowing what I need and don't need. I tried Monkey, way too slow. I think if she had to spell on Ogi, it would be a lot better. I tried Shalom. Actually, Shalom's pretty good as well. I think slightly inconsistent in the setup I was trying out. And I didn't try Nectar. Should have tried maybe. If anything, he would have replaced Quatre because he dispels a lot, and that's all I know about him. I'll quickly go over the weapons I've used. Honestly, it was mainly crit. Any of the crit grand weapons I ended up using. Double Tai-Sai and one of the Gabriel's spear. I only have one. Where is it? Right there. And then Whamdis spears. I got one Yatima, so I ended up using that. So pretty much a majority of GW was crit until 250, right? 250, I switched to Magna because I didn't have... There was no way I was going crit for 250 primal. I didn't have any other primal weapons done for water. So like no blue ball. Wait, that sounded kind of weird. No Whamdis axes. I didn't feel like primal was a good choice for me. Ended up using Scrodingers a lot as well. Definitely gotta get your Mark IIs done. Every GW, they kind of hard carry, and they're the only reason why Magna works. I had a lot of these Ned staffs done as well, but didn't really use them. They're still viable. Again, I just didn't really use them for my setups. Alright, I quickly want to talk about the boss because this boss was so garbage. I feel like it was the most uncreative thing they could have done, right? Rather than like trying to make interesting mechanics, they just stacked on every annoying buff that they could put on it and just called it a day. And the boss freaking inflicted like some dumb debuffs at the start. This is mainly for 250, by the way. If you didn't have Veil or Yatima or Poseidon with the debuff res up, you would get zombified, charmed. Overall, the boss just felt very like stupid. I don't really know what else to say. It's like Hesselia was definitely gonna carry, and rather than like working with Hesselia, it was kind of just like completely counteracting it, right? And I felt like they could have gone a better way rather than just slap repel so everyone just dies, right? But I feel like what they could have done is like, all right, maybe after a certain amount of skill damage, you know, the boss would do this, a certain buff would activate. I don't know, like rather than just clashing with the actual characters, they can work with them, if you know what I mean. I don't know, this boss is just very, very egregious to me. But I mean, there's enough characters in the pool to where like you'll figure out a setup. You know, there's a ton of people out there that will find something out. But in general, it's just, I just don't like the way they approached it though, because Hesselia is definitely a very big part of water and what water is now. I think that's pretty much it. I didn't really have a direction I want to go in with this video, so it might be all over the place. I think if I keep doing more, I'll get more organized. This video in particular was kind of just spontaneous. I think it's something I want to keep doing in the future, just because it keeps me engaged in the game and lets me air out my grievances, right? I think after playing this game for so long, you just gotta let out some of those frustrations. And honestly, kind of a rough start for New Year's for GBF, for me personally. You know, we had the whole Mjolnir Orologia fiasco, collab gacha, which I still hate. We're getting more collab gacha, which is gross. Don't pull on those unless for some reason you love Nejima. Stay away. I think that's pretty much it for the video. I think this is a good way to close out on this particular arc of GBF. I also want to thank everyone for hanging out with me during the streams. They were a lot of fun and definitely makes grinding Guild War a lot more bearable. With that being said, I'll see you guys when Light GW comes around. Or even before that. I got a ton of stuff I need to grind, so look forward to that. Until then, keep grinding, and I'll see you guys next time. Peace!